Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on where you have joined from. My name is Patty, and I will be your host today. First, thank you all for registering and taking the time to join us during this call. Before I begin, I do have a few housekeeping announcements. At any time during the webinar, please do feel free to ask questions by typing them into the questions or chat window on your screen. Questions will be answered at the end of the session. Following the webinar, the recording will be available and shared with all attendees. If you experience any technical issues, please visit the Help menu in the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side of your screen. Lastly, I've placed all of you on mute to prevent any background noise. But first, before we begin the webinar, I'd like to provide a quick background on ABSTEC. We provide customized IT consulting services for companies ranging from mid-size to Fortune 100 enterprises across a wide range of industry verticals. Leveraging agile practices, ABSTEC SMEs, or subject matter experts, architects, and associates build software applications, platforms, and products that become primary drivers of innovation and revenue growth for our clients and their businesses. ABSTEC is recognized for driving quality and speed to market when business success depends on the software applications. Founded in 2007, ABSTEC is headquartered in Addison, Texas, with offices in USA, Middle East, and Hyderabad, India. Now for our webinar introduction. Oracle Database 19c is a relatively stable release of the Oracle Database 12c family of products. It offers an extended support window, making it an excellent choice for current and future upgrade plans. This release offers new functionality, providing customers with a multi-model enterprise class database for all their typical use cases. This webinar focuses on some of the new features available in Oracle Database 19c, the detailed upgrade process, and the benefits accrued by taking a step in that direction. It emphasizes on how to upgrade legacy databases to new version, benefit from the new functionality, and be future ready by encouraging enhanced usage. Thorough understanding of changes within and new to Memoptimized Rowstore, hybrid partitioned tables, diagnosability, and sharing enhancements. Attendees will walk away with a logical toolset to start administering their Oracle Database 19c and how they can scale in the future. There will be key takeaways, new features and functionalities that make you future ready, de-supported features in the near future, streamlined and ease of upgrading from any legacy database version to a new version with enhanced features. And now I would like to introduce our presenter for today, Ashish. Ashish is an experienced database administrator with over 14 years of diverse experience in managing high transactional Oracle, SQL Server, and MSQL database systems with proven analytical and troubleshooting skills. He is a cloud migration expert with 3+ years of diverse experience in migration of full data center from on-prem to government community cloud in India. And I will now hand it over to my colleague, Ashish. Ashish, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Betty. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening all who has joined from the different part of the world. As we know that Oracle database is the world's most popular database. It scales from a single CPU to thousands of CPUs, manages both OLTP and data warehousing workloads, and the most secure and highly available database for the enterprise. So today we'll discuss about why upgrade to Oracle DB 19c. 19c comes with a lot of new features and benefit and business use cases. So that Oracle Database 19c is actually it's come with that 19 is the long-term support release. Core aim of the 19C database is long-term stability, but it's already that support started from 2018, mid of 2018, and it will continue till mid of 2024. And after that, it will have that extended support till 2020, mid of 2027. But still, always you have to check that Oracle support note 742060.1 for the latest schedule. Now, why? Because that Oracle 19C is a come with a lot of new features, but why will upgrade to Oracle Database 19C? Only for the new features? No, there are lot of other couple of things that which will you should consider to upgrade to the 19C database. First thing is that non-container database architecture, that architecture will be going to be de-supported. Before that 19C till 12C, before 12C will have that non-container database only. That if you have a one instance, you can create one database under that. But from 12C, Oracle come up with that container database. You will have a one instance, but you can create multiple databases under that. So it's very easily manageable multiple database. You don't have to create multiple instances for the multiple databases. Now Oracle is planning to desupport that non-container database, means one single instance and one database. So to easily migrate from this Oracle database non-CDB architecture will be de-supported from Oracle database 20C or onwards. So to easy that migration from your non-container database to container database, Oracle is giving up to 3 pluggable database create under that container database. 3 pluggable database, you don't have to buy that multi-tenant licenses. You don't have to pay extra money to the Oracle to migrate from that non-container database to the container database. You can create up to 3 pluggable database, any type of pluggable database in that 19C database, 19C version, so that this will you can easily migrate from the non-container database to the container database. But if you want to create more than 3 databases, like 4 or more user created pluggable databases, then you have to buy for the multi-tenant option. But to create the 3 pluggable database, you don't have to go for the multi-tenant options. You can, if you have the enterprise licenses, you can create up to 3 pluggable databases. Next is that new features which is added to new auto upgrade tool. Before that 19C database, we don't have any auto upgrade tool. We have to, if you want to upgrade the database from any lower version to upper versions, you have to do it manual. First, you have to run that post upgrade steps, and whatever the issues will be there, you have to fix it manually. And after the fixing that one, there are a lot of challenges we have faced early because there are no auto upgrade tools. So that Oracle will not take care. So you have to manually take care all those things. So for that one, that they come up with a new auto upgrade tool, which is devious to upgrade one or many databases without any human intervention. So the auto upgrade utility identifies the issues before upgrade, and it will give you the fix up script. You just run those fix up script and deploy the upgrades, perform post upgrade actions, and bring up the upgrade Oracle databases. But currently it is supports upgrade to Oracle Database 19C from Oracle Database 18C, which is 18.5 and newer version, and Oracle Database 12C release, that is 12.2, and you have to that release update, apply the patch release update DB January 2019 RE. That will not, you don't have to install that any new auto upgrade tool or anything. It will automatically come from the Oracle Database 19C. check for the details, you have to go through the Oracle support note 2485457.1. Now, continual improvement in each release, and in 19C, there are a lot of things which Oracle has introduced. It is a automatic come with that online table move, which is DBMS redefinitions, load from object store, invisible column, property graph, automatic indexing, index compression, real-time materialized view, auto-generated sequence, online table space encryptions, and lot of new features. Lots new features come with that. We will not able to complete all those new features. We will not able to discuss all those new features into that. But the main new features which is really grateful to use the 19C database, we will discuss here. First one is that performance and scalability. In 12.1, we see that in-memory column store, engineered system. At 12.2, they have added that in-memory JSON queries, in-memory active standby. In 18C, that they have come up with the memory optimized row stores. And in 19C, they come up with a fast ingest support for IoT type workloads, quarantine for the SQL plans, and the great new features is automatic indexing. Meme optimized Rowstore. So it is actually that when you have a nowadays, we are seeing that lot of IoT devices which stores lot of data and which collect lot of data. If you go for that, you collect a lot of data and put it into the database, it will take a lot of times for you to store the data into the database. So Oracle come up with the memory optimized row store. So enable the fast data insert into the Oracle database. So application that generates lots of information and data, important values in the aggregate. So it does not necessarily require full ACID requirement, that ACID requirements. Applications like Internet of Things with rapid unattended workload, like census data, smart meter data, traffic camera data, and all those things, that collected and written to the database in high volume for later analysis. So that new in-memory insert algorithm declares tables. So you have to first, when you will create the table, you have to declare the table for mem optimized for write. So that what it will does, it will in the large memory buffer, it will large pool, it will allocate the space. Client perform low latency insert into in-memory buffer using the standard SQL insert, but high throughput bulk insert done asynchronously in the background. So it will continuously drainer processes will always continuously process the data and insert into the database. It will be ultra fast, and it will the 20 Oracle has tested the 25 million inserts per second on 2-socket server. And you have to use the hint when you will do the insert, that mem optimized write. That hints you have to use in your insert SQL query. And API allows developer to check on the durability of their insert also. So rows are first cached in the memory, which is in the large pool of that instance, and it will asynchronously drain to the disk. Next, great features that Oracle has introduced in that SQL Quarantine. So SQL execution plan consuming excessive resources are quarantined. When we will execute a SQL, and if we set up that SQL, that it is taking, if we consider that if we set up the time that if any queries which are taking more than 10 seconds or 15 seconds, that query Oracle will automatically quarantine, and it will protecting the system from runaway SQL statement. That execution plan that exceeds database resources manager limits are automatically quarantined, and it improves overall responsiveness of the system by stopping rough SQL statement being continually resubmitted. So DBA can monitor the quarantine statement in $SQL, and for that they have added a column in $SQL, that is quarantine column. So controlled by the DBMS SQL queue or DBMS resource manager. That is a really great new features which Oracle has introduced in the 19C versions. Next, another great features Oracle has introduced is automatic indexing. So we know that as a DBS, I also work in that, and we considered some of the SQL statement, and we see that that SQL statement is not picking up the right index, or it is not at all picking up the indexes. So what we will does, whenever there is a statement which are not taking the index, going for full table scan or anything that is taking lot of times to execute, we just consider that one SQL statement and create the indexes on the tables, which create I have seen that has sometimes create the problem in that other SQL, because that it's that other SQL statement started picking up the new index, and those SQL queries are going for the bad explain plan, and that query's performance is degraded. So what we does to fix that issues, again we will consider that three, four queries from that AWR report or that particular time SH report. Again, we tune that which queries is, and also sometimes we use the hint of that indexes to picking up the right index, which is a time consuming things and everything. So an expert system that implemented based on what skill performance engineer would do, and it is reinforcement learning, allows it to learn from its own action as its all candidate index are validated before being implemented. So, but that Oracle AI features, that artificial intelligence which they have introduced in the 19C database, that is that capture the sequels, not only that one SQL it will consider from your top 10 SQL statement which are CPU consuming, or that lock running, or that SQL elapsed times from the AWR report that we see that SQL sections. It will consider all the SQLs and then come up with a index which will help you to benefit for all the SQL statements which are running on the table, not only that one SQL statement. This process is fully automated. So what Oracle does, Oracle that for that automatic indexes and in action, they run that automatic indexes features on a NetSuite workload. So it's ran a complex NetSuite workload and to compare that ATP to existing experts tuning. So they considered there was a running on that NetSuite workload 17,542 SQL statement, 1,852 tables, and 8,151 indexes, which took year of tuning to create those indexes before running these automatic indexing features in the 19C. So before that, all indexes and statistics were dropped. So expert took 1,172 seconds, whereas autonomous took only 1,155 seconds. After that, experts suggested to 4,663 indexes to create to run the same workload, and all the SQL queries are in that accepted times. But the same things which 4,663 indexes took lot of space to also consume lot of space in the database level. Whereas that autonomous has suggested only 1,733 indexes, and it's achieved the identical performance to expert manual tuning. Another great features that Oracle has introduced in 19C is active data guard DML redirection. Before 19C, we can open that standby database only with that active data guard features. We can open it only the read-only mode. We cannot open that your active standby data guard or that data guard database in that read-write mode. But Oracle has come up with the 19C a new features, that is that DML redirection. So you can open your that standby database with that active data guard features in that read-write mode. So what will happen? The redirection, DML redirection is automatically performed from an active data guard. That is a great new feature. So this allows DML to be executed against the standby database. On executions, the DML operation is passed to the primary database. The primary database performs the operations and generates the redo. And that redo is then applied to the standby and control return to the application. These transactions is fully ACID compliant and allows the incidental updates to be run against the standby, increase the overall flexibility of the disaster recovery architecture. So that standby to the primary without compromising this ASIC. So there is a new documented parameter that has introduced, that is ADG redirect DML. Control the DML redirections to the, so how you will enable this one? So you can enable it at the sessions level or at the system level. So you have to run that alter system set adg underscore redirect underscore dml equal to true and scope equal to both in both primary and standby, and you don't need to restart the Oracle database. It will be dynamically set in the parameter file. And this is mostly used that occasionally updates applications. So this is a new features where we can open our standby database in that read-write mode, not only the read mode. Threading enhancement. So in that, Oracle has come up with a lot of new enhancement features with the threading databases. So that threading has introduced in the 12c. It now for 19c it supports multiple PDB certs in the same CDB. It's allow consolidation of the app that require separate databases but share the same system. Multiple table families. It supports multiple table families where data from different families reside in the same chunk. It is a system managed threading method which is now introduced in the 19c. Different apps accessing different table families can now be hosted on one threaded DB. And that another new features that parameters can automatically propagate across the search databases. It's centrally managed and that propagate that alter system parameter setting from site catalog to the all search. Oracle database in 19c it's starting that JSON support. JSON support has started from 12.2 database. 18c they have come up with little enhancement, but in 19c it's come up with a lot of JSON support. So it can be run on the just standard DML like insert into update, and the standard DML you don't have to write that any any new DML statement to update it. There is no SQL APIs can be supported like Java, REST, C, Python, JavaScript, and everything is the supported. Analytics can be done, dot notation access, parallel query, columnar access, and everything you can do just with that select queries, and JSON's data guide to analyze the metadata of JSON's collectors. So 19c include also JSON update operations, and it started supporting the materialized view support for JSON table. And JSON functions are simplified a lot more in the 19c database. Metadata discover the structure of the collections of the JSON's document automatically. It is deep analysis of JSON for list of values, ranges, sizings, etc., and is automatically generates. It can support the virtual columns, relational view, denormalized relational views for arrows. The JSON new SQL functions, they have introduced the JSON merge patch, enables you to update specific portion of the JSON document without have to replace the entire document. So if we want to update that PO document, that special instruction, something into the null, we just run that update purchase order underscore tab set PO document equal to JSON merge path. So you don't have to just you don't have to replace the whole document and load it again. You can do the just simple update statement and it will update that particular part of the JSON document. So we need to update so that will be the great features which is introduced in that 19C database. Also, that JSON exist conditions allows you to make the distinction between empty and missing elements. The default error handling is false or error. So report synopsis of JSON structures queries with JSON exists, JSON's value can utilize a materialized view and view created over a query that contains a JSON table function. A query that matches the query defining a refresh on statement materialized view over JSON table can be rewritten to a table access. You can use these features instead of creating multiple functional indexes. Next great features is hybrid partitions tables. Before 19C, if we create a table partitions, it is only limited within the Oracle database table. It cannot, it you cannot point that partitions to the externals object. I cannot say that it's a external tables because external objects like Excel, CSV. You can store the data in Excel, CSV, which are which are not required in current tables, but for the audit purpose or something, if you require the old data, you can upload it into the external storage and you can use it. So it's a that can be used very easily. So external partition may reside on standard file system like HDFS or object storage, and these models suppose the placement of data for long-term archiving on lower cost storage while allowing its continuous online access. So basically, whenever we use the Oracle database for fast access of the data, we use the high-end storage to access the data very fast. So, but if we upload that old data like 3 years, 4 years old data, which are not required or immediate basis, but which are required for audit purpose, we can upload it in the Excel and we can store it any low cost storage. It supports long-term access to infrequently data for regulatory requirements or audit purpose. Like that, in the picture, you can see that we have created a table which partitioned by the quarter, but we have the partitions from Q3 2017 to till date, where these are the table partitions. But if you see that Q4 2016 to Q2 2017 data, which are kept in the object storage, and that are stored in a flat file, and those data can be accessed with the normal SQL statement. You don't have to write any any new SQL statement or anything like select star from that. You will write that one, but yes, that access of the data may be a little bit slower, but you will save a lot of cost on that storage perspective. Real-time statistics, that is another new features what Oracle has introduced in the 19 series statements that complements the standard statistics collections jobs. It's by default, the collections occurs every 15 minutes if you configure that one. It's very lightweight, only gather the stale statistics when you will do the lot of updates or inserts on a table. Till before 19C, we have to manually update the statistics on the table. So it's a part of conventional DML like insert, update, or merge we are doing in a table. Statistics gathered during DML needs to be fast with negligible overhead, because during that time when we are loading the data insert or doing the insert or update, maybe that table is accessing by the user for the select statement as well. Only most essential stats that what are the columns that are affected due to that insert or update statement that it's gathered that to, so it can avoid the catastrophic SQL execution planned performance regression. It avoiding out of range conditions like mean, max, num, rows, etc. Gathering of remaining statistics is deferred, and automatic statistics gathered jobs still kicks in as needed. It does not perform actions such as purging statistics for non-existence object or informing of optimizer statistics advisor. Automatic statistics collections jobs meant not affected by high frequency job, and it doesn't start during the maintenance window if we configure from the resource manager. And automatic statistics also gather just high frequency, and it is high frequency statistics gathering. Now, a lot of security features also incorporated in that the 19C database. First and foremost is that data dictionary encryptions, which was not there before 19C database. And there are a lot of other things like migrating clear table space data to encrypted data with minimum downtime, online encryption with minimum incremental storage for no downtime, supports live re-encryptions of tablespace data. It's fast offline data encryptions that has also introduced in 12C R2 and 12.1 database, minimal downtime with data guard, automatic encryption when migrating clear text to the cloud with Armand, bring your own TD master encryption key into the database, and per PDB wallet so that each PDB can manage its own key stores, and Oracle and that dictionary. Now next features is come with that password-led schema only Oracle account. It was not there before 19C database. So what was the problem? Problem was that why Oracle come up with that password-less schema only Oracle account. Database users accounts came with a password authentication whether or not it was used as a login account. Some accounts will never be used for logging, but passwords still need to be maintained. So that Oracle come up with the solutions that remove password and all authentication from this account. You can create the user like create user AUX app no authentication. Also, you can use alter user to add or remove authentication. So on fresh 19C database installations, Oracle database accounts will be installed without password. Only that sys will have a password provided during installation. Other account like DVSys or DVS NMP or the system or anything accounts, you don't have to give any password. Database vault operations control has introduced, and it is lot more things has come up here with that new features. It's a simpler, faster database vault implementation has introduced in the Oracle 19C database things. There are a lot of other benefits and other new features what Oracle has introduced in that 19C. That DVCS silent mode operations for pluggable databases, RAT real-time application testing, and ADDM at PDB level, which was not there before that. Automated PDB relocations. So you can just relocate the pluggable database from automatically by using simple two commands. And you can upgrade your CDB, and under the PDB you can upgrade it, and then you can move it to the higher version of the CDB. Also, that Oracle has come up that SQL query on the object stores that I have described about that hybrid columnar, hybrid partitions tables. Into that SQL query on object store, so you can just run the simple select queries into that object store like uh, in your Oracle object store or S3 buckets, any wherever in the cloud that we have a different enables high performance SQL over that Oracle Object Store, AWS S3, Azure Blob Storage. It can scalable scans and joins can span Oracle and data lakes, loading of data into data warehouse, queries on data lake, data in object stores. Support all popular file format, including CSV, JSON, Parquet, and Avro. So this is the some of the features I have described in that Oracle new features that have introduced. But other than that, there are a lot of things they have implemented in that 19C database new features. So, so that are the new benefits. So now we got that why upgrade to 90C? That it is a upgrade legacy DBs to newer versions without extra cost to migrate or smooth transitions from your non-container database to the container database without paying extra cost. If you have the enterprise license, you can create up to 3 PDBs for one database license and you can smoothly transition from that. I have already that automatic indexing. So we spent a lot of times on this to create that automatic indexing, but now it is that we already know that that automatic indexing create that Oracle run on the NetSuite workload and they show us the benefits of that. Hybrid partitions tables that security and performance, lot of new features in the security perspective they have introduced, and that zero downtime Oracle grid infrastructure patching, that is a new features that Oracle has introduced in that. So if you want to upgrade that, now Oracle has come up with the release update patch. And if you are going to that release update patch, you don't need any downtime. Before that grid, when we have a rack systems, and what will does that will bring down one, if you have a 3 nodes rack system, we bring down one node and we upgrade the grid infrastructure there. Then we upgrade that Oracle database with that security release, quarterly security patch and everything, and then we bring up the database. But now that we don't need any downtime for that Oracle grid infrastructure patching. It will automatically take care of that when will apply that patch with the rolling bounds. Like it will automatically first apply in one node, then it will come up, bring up that node, and then go to the next node and it's apply the patch in the grid infrastructure. Then it will automatically apply in that in your Oracle home and it's bring it up. And that SQL and JSON syntax simplification, it's really a new great feature. So that JSON has now started supporting that materialized view. At JSON has started supporting the materialized view, which was not there, and it started supporting that you don't have to create that so many functional indexes to upgrade that features. And that lot of and that one new SQL features that that has that great upgrade in the 19C database is distinct functions. We have seen that if you use the distinct functions and group by functions in any of the SQL query, those SQL queries are very much CPU intensive. And we see that when the distinct functions run on a SQL query, it takes a lot of times and a lot of CPU resources to execute and process your data and then come up with the distinct function. But there is a great improvement in 19C with the distinct function and the group by function. I have I have installed a 19C database and I ran a distinct functions queries where I use the distincts in a queries and I compare with the 12C and 19C database. In 12C database, 11G also I have compared with 11G, 12C, 12.2 and 19C database. where that in 11G that same query is taking to execute almost 6 seconds with uh, with that almost CPU utilization is reaching almost 85% to execute that query to fetch that 156 rows. After that, I same table structure and same data volume in the table. I have put the table in that 12.2 database, and I ran the same queries with the distinct functions, which took little less time, but CPU utilization has not improved a lot. That CPU utilization and CPU cost is almost same. But when I ran that same SQL query in that 19C database, I found that SQL CPU cost and CPU utilization is very minimal. It is came down almost 25%. So there is some functions they have, Oracle has 19C they have introduced, which help us to use the less CPU for the distinct function and distinct queries and the group by function. So don't wait. It is a really great lot of great features and lot of new features, and it's very easy to upgrade your databases, and it's time to be future ready to upgrade to the 19C for that. Now, if you have any questions, uh, so these are the new features, and to that, if you have any questions, you can post the questions in the question sections, and I'm ready to answer those questions.
Not sure if we have any questions here, Ashish. I don't know if any are coming
Yes,
your
yes, yeah, we will send the webinar link um, uh, that somebody is asking that can I get a copy of your presentation?
way. Mhm.
Yes, we will share that. We'll share the webinar link after that over the email.
Okay, well, with that being said, thank you very, very much, Ashish. It was very enlightening. That is all the time that we have for today. Again, any questions that we didn't get to or you didn't think of at the time, we will share the answers along with the recording of this particular webinar. You may also email us at any time at info@appstechcorp.com, and I will spell that for you. info@apps TEKCORP, appstechcorp.com. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us for today's webinar, and we wish you all a great day ahead. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, I have a questions. Lot of questions are coming.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so there is one question that somebody has asked about the plugin PDB and CDB. Yes, so when you will go from a container database that Oracle has introduced in 12C, there is a that is CDB is called the container database, which actually centrally database through under which there are a lot of pluggable database you can create up to 252 pluggable database you can create. And so you will have a CDB is actually that control database or container database under which you can keep your data stores under that pluggable databases that is called PDBs. So that is through control CDB you can centrally manage all your pluggable database, which will give you that features like that you can, if you want to, like say if you want to, uh, you can take out the pluggable database easily from the container database and you can plug it in the other container database. Not only if you want to refresh, you just create the metadata from the pluggable database and it can be easily shifted from one server to another server. So there are a lot of features. If I explain it, it will take a lot of time. I'll come with the details about the CDBs and PDBs over the mail. No, that is not. So there is another question that do I need to have PDB, pluggable DB always in 19C? No, till 19C you can, in 19C you can create that container non-container database like one instance with one database. But after that, Oracle is planning to desupport that container non-container database from 20C onwards. That 21C is already there. So to smooth migrations, you should migrate your non-container database to the container database so that you can easily upgrade your databases later version when Oracle will come up with the new releases and new features. So there is another questions that is, what approach would you recommend for migrating legacy workload to Oracle 19C in AWS cloud? So that's actually there are a lot of mechanisms that you can follow to to migrating that legacy workload to the Oracle 19C in AWS cloud, but that depends on your on your lot of things are behind this. How you want to migrate that from your legacy workload to the 19C AWS cloud? Like if you want to migrate that, how much there are a lot of things that needs to be considered because before migrating that legacy workload to the 19C AWS cloud, that how much downtime you can provide, your business can provide, how much, what is the size of your database, and there are a lot of other factors which we should consider before migrating that workload to that. And also that we have to have a secure connection between your on-premises database to that AWS cloud, because we cannot and most of that top of that, what is the size of your database, because it can be from 10 GB um, to the the terabyte. So that depend lot of factors. We have to consider a lot of factors before we migrate to the legacy workload. So there is another great question, that what are the challenges in upgrade? Okay, so there are a lot of challenges are there in the system, because I have seen that people are still in the database version 11.2.0.1. So from 11.2.0.1 versions, we cannot directly migrate to the 19C database, because 19C database migration doesn't support from 11 to 11.2.0.1. So there are a lot of updates. Other than that, there are that downtime is one of the most challenge that that lot of applications data, lot of companies databases are running on very old versions, and the size is too huge, and they cannot provide too much downtime. So for that, there are options are there to minimize the downtime, but we can. There are a lot of things are available. Like a lot of tools are available to migrate from that. Migrate. We can overcome that one, but there are a lot of challenges. First challenge, like say that I told you that database size is huge, and it is very older versions where Oracle Database 19c doesn't support direct upgrade from that lower version to that upper versions. There is another questions I have received that what is the best way to upgrade multiple DB? Can I do 3 DBs at a time? Yes. If your database is in 12.2.0, 12.2 versions, and if you're if you have the pluggable databases configured, then there is a most easiest way to just install the 19c database, configure the 19c database in PDB, and take that to do the PDB flow. Or you can just detach that PDB from the 12.2 database and attach it to the 19c database. That features is there, and you can do it parallel. How do I automatic indexing work? Do I have to do something for these features, or is it automatically there? No, it is not automatically there. To enable that automatic indexing features, you have to run that. There is a command which a configure that you have to configure. There is an DBMS tool that you have to configure, that DBMS auto index.configure. Once you configuring that DBMS auto indexing, then you have to give the auto index mode, and you have to click on that implement. Also that is you can, and then you have to configure the schema wise. If you have a multiple schemas in the database, and if you configure for the one or two schemas, then you have to run that query like exec dbms auto index.configure and auto index schema name and true. If you configure that one, then only that automatic indexing will be there. You can stop that automatic indexing anytime, and you can like that you can exe dbms auto index configure, then auto index mode and off. And if you want to retention that, you can set up the retention period for that automatic indexing as well. And if you want to check that whether it's configured or not, you can query that dba underscore auto underscore index underscore config table. And if you want to check the report, then dbms auto index dot report activity. It will show you that report activity. You have to pass the parameter in that dbms auto index procedure. So there is another question that does auto index need additional licenses? No, that auto index features not needed any extra license in 19c database. There is another question that is the SQL Quarantine feature on by default, or is it an option that is it? No, it is not automatically on. You have to use that. You have to enable that SQL Automatic Quarantine. Otherwise, it will not. It will not enable. So you have to enable that features, that SQL query. So you have to use that dbms resource manager dot create plan directives, and you have to pass the parameter plan, group of subplan, comment, switch group. Like you can set that limit resource, test runaway plans, and in the comment section you can give the kill statement after exceeding desired execution time. Switch group is cancel SQL. You have to mention that switch group is cancel SQL. Switch time equal to, you have to give the seconds, how many, after how many seconds that SQL will be automatically quarantined, and switch estimate equal to false. If you that, then you will see that it will show you in that alert log that what are the SQLs that has automatically cancelled due to that plan setup. But you have to set it up with that dbms resource manager dot create plan directive. So I have there are a lot of questions I have received, and I cover couple of um, and I think I cannot cover more questions. So definitely then we'll cover. I cover whatever, but there are a lot of questions. Uh, but I'll go. We'll come up with that. We'll come up to all of you with the answers. Due to that time constraint, I cannot complete all the questions. I cannot answer all the questions here. Uh, Thanks all, and so I am handing over to Patty again.
Does that appear to be all of the questions that we have for today's webinar, Ashish?
Patty, I have received a lot of questions, which due to
Wonderful.
the time constraint we cannot answer, but we'll definitely get back to them with the answers.
And that's perfect, because then they can email us at the info@azteccorp.com, which is the one I gave earlier, and all of their questions will be answered and addressed. How does that sound? Appropriate, right?
Yes, Patty, absolutely.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We do appreciate it.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Well, I don't remember anyone whose name is Daniel, John, Michael. I don't work with anybody.
Hey, hi. Yes, sir. Tell me. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.